Welcome to Fox 23's Frigid, where we take a deep dive with a keen eye into cold cases across the state of Oklahoma. My name is Kaylie Cotten, and today I'm joined by Thomas Ashton and investigative reporter Janna Clark. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Kaylie.
Of course. So today we're discussing a case out of Creek County, the murder of Deborah Ashton. So 20-year-old Deborah Ashton was killed in September of 1979. At the time of her murder, Debbie was working at a gas station off Highway 66 and living with her boyfriend at the time, James Redding. She wasn't living with him?
No.
Okay.
She was not living with him.
I just found this out, too.
Okay.
So authorities told me that that was the case, but I just found out from him that that was not the case because he knows because he was there.
We lived with my grandmother, my uncle, and my aunt.
Okay.
And she was still living with Danny Ashton.
And was that her husband at the time?
Yes.
That she was going through a divorce with?
Yes.
But she was seeing James, was she?
I was a 6-year-old child. I have no idea what she was doing in her
Well, authorities
off time.
told us
Yes.
she was seeing James at
And
the
that
time.
could possibly be because my uncle and her were back and forth on the outs.
Okay.
Yeah, and police told me that James Redding was her boyfriend.
Okay.
So, but this is new information for me.
Interesting.
But I guarantee you she was not living with him. She was living with
Alright.
Danny
Well,
and my
so-
grandmother.
She was living with him.
Yeah.
Because I
Thomas.
was staying there too, yes.
How old were you at the time of her murder?
I was 6 at the time of her murder.
Uh-huh.
But I had came back here when I was just right after I was 5 because there was a medical atrocity in our family with my middle brother. And so I was brought back here by my uncle and my aunt to wait for my parents to get done with, because they were all out in California. And so I came back here, me and my oldest brother did. And then my parents came after, because my middle brother was in a coma for 18 months after a bad accident. And so they were always at the hospital.
And just for our viewers and our listeners, Thomas is Deborah's nephew, correct?
By marriage.
By marriage.
Yes.
Okay. So, she wasn't living with James Redding, but police believe that they were seeing each other at the time of her murder. And investigators believe on September 13th, Debbie was kidnapped or taken by at least 2 men, unfortunately sexually assaulted and then shot. Debbie was left there in a wooded area for, 5 days before her body was found? So she was found wearing nothing but her shirt and a name tag that read Debbie from where she worked.
Right. And the shirt was ripped.
Okay. So, first and foremost, you were young, but obviously you knew Deborah and you lived with her. Just tell me about her.
Well, like I said, my middle brother, he had a horrific accident, so, and I'm the baby of the family, so I'm getting no love, no support, nothing from my parents. They're in the hospital, which I understand this now, but
At the time? Yeah,
I'm a little selfish kid.
I mean, you're, 5, 6?
5,
I mean,
yeah.
Of course you're not going to recognize those things until later.
And, yeah, my brother got hit when I was 5. And so they needed my uncle. They called all the family, and all my aunts, all my uncles, everybody came to California. And so Danny and Debbie, when I met Debbie, she scooped me up, and she was a young, bubbly, 20-year-old, happy personality. I mean, just full of life. And I'd been pushed away so much that I'd gotten bitter and resentful. Well, when I met her, she would do everything under the sun with me. She'd play Hot Wheels with me, play cars, play games, card games. I would do back a long time ago, Captain Kangaroo, they had picture pages. Well, I would do those. She would help me with those. And I adored this lady. She was more than my mom.
Right.
I mean, I had a mom, but my mom was preoccupied.
She took you in and let you feel loved
Yes.
at a time when you were kind of feeling abandoned.
Abandoned,
Yeah.
yes. And so I came to live with them, and I was on top of the world. I was loving life. I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd walk with my grandma to the store every day, and we just had a blast.
Yeah.
And then September rolled around, and the police come knocking, and at 6 years old, nobody really tells you much.
Right.
And especially on this case, my family hid most of the details from the children.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they thought that we just didn't know or it wasn't none of our business, I don't know. But we didn't get any information except for just conversations, what we could overhear. And basically all I ever knew was that she had just vanished. She was just gone. I didn't know she was murdered. I didn't know she was raped. I didn't know anything.
Right.
Well, when I was 27, my uncle had gotten out of incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he was out, that's all he would talk about was her. Because he was still madly in love with her all the way up till the day he passed away.
Her husband at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all I would hear from him was the resentment about the case. Nothing good. This might happen, that might have happened. It was all, nobody's doing nothing. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to help our family. Everybody hates us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got in my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I was never the friendly person. I never made friends. People hated me. Why would they want to be my friend? And that's the way I thought, because that's the way everybody...
That's what you were told. So,
After the murder, yeah, that people hated her and made her go away.
Oh, goodness. Did Debbie have any children of her own?
No.
No. So when exactly did your family know something was wrong?
When the police showed up at the door, and they had told my grandmother and my uncle that I remember them shining the light and saying that they had to speak with them about Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told Janna earlier, my parents was even here by then.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever they opened the door, I say at night, it was like early morning, because she was at a night shift job.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever they found out that she wasn't at work, I guess it was amongst the early morning hours.
Mm-hmm. And what day was this? Because September 13th is when it happened.
Yeah,
and
this might have been
and
right
then,
around in that same
okay,
time
so
period.
they hadn't found her body when they told her family.
No, this was just coming advising
like
that
she's
she
gone.
was
Okay.
she was at work, she's no longer there.
Okay.
And then, we're all shuffled, all the kids are shuffled out of the room so they could talk with the notifying officer or whoever came to the house. And so I didn't get to hear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, throughout the time of right after it happened up until, because it was, 7 days, 7 days?
5 days, yeah.
Before they found her. So, after that, I was abandoned again. Because it wasn't no longer medical attention that my brother needed, which he still needed, but it was that she was gone too.
It felt like your mom was taken away from you because of this other issue.
Right, my nanny is what
Yeah.
I called her Aunt Debbie, but...
Yeah. And then Debbie's taken away.
Right. And, my mom wasn't really taken away by life. She was just taken away by circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be at another place at another time.
Yeah.
And so whenever the police came and told that she was a missing person, and was looking for her. You know, they'd came to the house looking for her, so they knew she lived there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I heard that, you know, she's missing, she's gone. And that's all I knew.
When were you told that she had been killed?
Like I said, when I was 27, 26, my uncle got out of prison, and I sat him down, and I really had a heart-to-heart talk with him.
So up until that point, you just thought she left you guys?
Not that she left, just that she was gone.
Mm.
I knew she went to heaven, but I didn't know how.
Right.
I mean, I knew what God meant.
Yeah.
Not meaning that she drove down to the coast.
Right.
You know, it's that she's never coming back.
Well, after this, 2 men were arrested and charged with Debbie's murder, Joseph Cathcart and Timmy Reel. In 1980, a jury heard the case, but then both men were found not guilty. So these 2 men arrested, charged. Do we know why investigators initially believed it to be them?
My uncle ran around with both of them, and they all knew each other. Again, my uncle was in and out of prison just like the rest of them were.
Mm-hmm.
They were all up to no good in their daily lives and activities. But still, that doesn't give you the right to end someone's life.
Mm. Do we know what investigators believe to have been their motive?
What I have in my own research and come to find out, they had thought it was some kind of jealous back and forth ploy. They couldn't figure out who was telling the truth and who was lying.
Like your uncle was
Yes.
upset, and so they were doing their friend like a favor?
No, like my dad, my uncle went and got people drunk, asking them about this case afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
My dad went and impersonated police officers with a security guard badge, asking about this case.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't think they was getting answers fast enough. So they wanted to go get their own answers. Well, with them doing that, I think the police kind of took the case and threw it off in the back. Said, go do it yourself, you're going to.
At the time, did your family believe they were the ones responsible?
No.
So they never believed that they were the ones that did it?
No.
So there was a star witness in the case, and that person testified in the trial that he had talked to Joe Cathcart, and that when he was talking to him, that Joe admitted that he had done it. Was part of the reasoning behind, and these guys had been in trouble, and these 2 guys ran around together. So Timmy Reel and Joe Cathcart ran around together.
Yes.
So that was one of the reasons they thought it was him. Another thing that's interesting is he said when he had the conversation with Joe Cathcart that Joe told him where he put the murder weapon, and that he tossed it out the window when he was driving down the county road out in Creek County, and this star witness took them right to the gun, correctly?
Yes.
Like within feet, like 5 feet or something, like a very short distance of the murder weapon.
To where they could see it. Where he took them standing, they could see the weapon. They found it.
And that person was not ever charged with the crime. He was himself in trouble a lot with the law, but he was the star witness, and they went a lot by what this guy said. So I've always found it to be interesting just because I've read the whole trial transcript, and I always thought it was interesting that he was able to know by a conversation right where the gun was.
I mean, like I'm saying, I threw my keys out of my car one time before. It took me 3 days to find them.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task to do that.
Right.
Especially in the early, dark morning hours.
It's one thing to find something that you tossed out, let alone from a conversation that was had with somebody else telling you, this is where I tossed out the gun.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't his gun, like I was telling Janna, I grew up in a hunting household.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sort of kind of how fingerprints work, which I know the gun was laying out for, say, a month in the elements of the weather, the dust, the wind, everything. But on casings, they can take fingerprints off them. I mean, stuff like that's never even been, they never even looked at the gun. They had it the whole time. But I don't know that they ever fingerprinted it, that they ever did anything with it. I mean, who was it even registered to? You said somebody's mom?
Yeah, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I looked at the notes, but if I recall correctly, it was Cathcart's girlfriend. The gun belonged to her, but the star witness, that was his mother. So Cathcart's girlfriend was also the star witness's mother. And it was her gun that was supposedly somebody took and used in the murder.
That's a lot of entanglement there.
Yeah.
It's a big mess.
So how did your family feel when they were deemed not guilty?
Lost all hope and faith in anything in law. I was told all my life not to trust the cops.
So even though they felt like it wasn't them, they were kind of hoping that...
My uncle told me he thinks it was done by somebody and had it hired done. And that was before his death.
Right. When did he pass?
I was like 28, 30, something like that.
His uncle was in trouble a lot, Danny Ashton.
He was in and out of prison all the time.
And Danny, he didn't think it was his friends either.
No,
right?
well, like I said, the statement where they had took Cathcart in and he said that, or where the other guy had said that Cathcart had told him he did it. My uncle had went and knew Cathcart. They were party buddies.
Yeah.
He went and got him drunk one night, and Cathcart told him he didn't have nothing to do with it. So,
Janna, you actually spoke to the attorney, correct, of both Timmy and Joseph, or just Joseph?
It was the defense. I think it was Joe Cathcart's attorney.
And what did he say about the outcome of the case?
Obviously, he was happy because his client was deemed not guilty. He told me he thought he wasn't guilty. He thought somebody else did it, and his client did not do it. And he was obviously happy with the result.
Do we know what evidence was brought up in the trial? If they didn't test the gun, I'm just curious.
well, they had her clothes, but all of her clothes was ripped and dirty and thrown astray from her body.
This is 1979. This was before DNA evidence and all the things that they can do today and what they can test and how they can test it. From my recollection of reading the trial transcript, it was mostly based on the star witness.
Yes.
And him saying that he spoke to Cathcart, and Cathcart said that he and Timmy Reel had done it together.
So like a he said situation, and they were running with
passing
that.
the buck, yeah.
And that he said, I'll tell you where the gun is, and that he told the star witness where the gun was, and that he was able to then go and show them where the gun was, and all those kind of details. Were like, oh, well, then the information must be correct, because...
He knew where the gun was.
Yeah, because he told us that Cathcart did it, and if, he told him that, and then he also told him that this is where the gun was, that, then that must be all correct.
Yeah.
I will also say, though, when I spoke to the OSBI investigator, who's now retired, he later retired, but when he was, working on this case, I interviewed him, and he believed that these were the two men that did it, and they got away with it. So he had a different perspective than some other people did.
So whether or not it was believed that they were the ones that did it, years went by, and in 2012, Timmy ended up dying of cancer. And then in 2014, 35 years after the crime was committed, Joseph Cathcart was shot in the entryway of his home.
Right.
He was shot in the face.
Coming out of his door.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And it's believed that James Redding, Debbie's
boyfriend at the time.
Yeah, was her boyfriend at the time, was the one that was responsible. Because I guess a few days after Joseph was shot, James told his brother he had done something bad and ended up killing himself with the same gun.
Right.
He rode up on a motorcycle, and this is what authorities told me. He rode up on a motorcycle, shot, said, "Are you Joe Cathcart?"
As soon as he walked out of the house.
And he said, "Yes," and he shot him in the face. And then he rode away and then shot himself with the same gun.
Later on, yes.
And just a very strange fact, it was the same kind of gun
yes.
that Deborah Ashton was killed with.
The same caliber.
Not saying it's the same gun.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know why. I don't know if there was a reason behind that. I just found it to be interesting. Another interesting thing is that when this information came to the newsroom, it was just a man has been shot in the face in his yard. Then I got a tip, there is a whole lot more to this. That's how I started backtracking and figuring out this has to do with a murder. This has to do with a cold case. And this woman's case was never solved. This is how it all started.
Yeah.
And when I seen that article on the news, I watch y'all's station daily. I'm a faithful viewer, I tell you. But when I seen that article, that's when I came alive, because I lost my aunt again all over.
Did your family have any relationship with James before or after?
My uncle had some sort of what type of relationship, I have no idea.
You don't know if it was like
Drug
animosity?
buddies.
Oh, okay.
More than likely. Drinking, drug buddies, something like that. I mean, I ain't here to hide nothing.
Of course.
But everybody makes their own life choices. He paid for his. He spent most of his time in prison. He lost the love of his life.
Your uncle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And passed away with a hateful heart.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is James Redding must have loved her so much, too. Because to hold that grudge for 35 years, because he must have believed that Joe Cathcart, was found guilty.
Got away with murder.
Got away with murder. And then
Or at
because
least had something to do with it.
Yeah.
So he wanted his revenge.
Yes.
So he must have loved her, too.
Yeah.
And she was a very loving woman. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
The way she took you in and treated you, that makes sense. That she would have people who
Yeah, my
who
mom
loved
was
her.
still alive, just
busy
in a
with
different
other-
situation.
yeah.
And so she stepped into the motherhood.
Right. At the time, Janna, didn't you speak to Joseph?
I
Was
did.
he still in the hospital at the time, or was he recovered?
So he was shot in the face, and you would think he would have died. But he was actually paralyzed. And I had to wait. I waited for a while till he, I would say recovered, but he never really recovered. But he went and ended up being in a nursing home. And he was staying in a nursing home, and that's where I actually interviewed him. But I first talked to him on the phone. So I talked to him on the phone first, and then I talked to him in person when he was in the nursing home. But he was adamant. I asked him again and again and again, and I was adamant, did you kill Deborah Ashton? Did you have anything to do with Deborah Ashton's murder? And he was adamant, no, I did not. And in fact, he had a quote that was something like, I would give my soul away if I could make her family believe me that I had nothing to do with this. Is he telling the truth? Is he not? I don't know. I'm just, repeating what he said.
Yeah.
What do you think, Thomas?
Like I said, my uncle went and got him drunk. And that's the same guy. And he told my uncle he didn't do it while being drunk. And every one of us know that's truth serum. You drunk, you saying whatever. You don't care.
So do you believe the theory that somebody was hired to do it?
Yes, I do.
You do.
That's exactly what I believe.
Do you think Cathcart did it?
No. I believe the star witness did it.
You do.
Or knew who did it,
Mm.
had it done. And I believe his attorney knew a whole lot more, and still to this day knows a whole lot more.
I'm curious, even if that's the case, who would want to hire somebody to do that to her?
For things my uncle done is what I think.
Yeah, okay.
Her life was taken for other people's actions.
So like revenge against him?
Possibly. That's my heart feeling.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's your theory.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
Like I said, I was 6.
Yeah.
So I just came up with my own.
Right.
Nobody told me nothing. Told me to go sit down. If I got out of hand, I was spanked. I was disciplined. I minded my elders.
Right.
And done what I was told.
So unfortunately, to this day, Debbie's murder is still unsolved, with no one paying the price for Debbie's life. Do you believe the person responsible is still out there, alive and well?
Is he alive? I really don't think so. Is somebody alive that maybe had something to do with it? Possibly. I don't know that yet either.
If they are alive, what do you think would have to happen in order for Debbie to get justice?
For her justice, she's never going to get it. She's resting in heaven. But there's a lot of people that still care about her that would like to.
Of course. I mean, you being here today just shows how much. I mean, you were only 5 or 6, and you spent a short amount of time with her.
Right.
But that's how much love she brought.
Yeah,
so much love that it's lasted this long, and you're still trying to.
Yeah, my Aunt Betty, I don't have feelings for her like that, and she's my natural aunt.
Mm.
But it's not that I want anybody to get anything out of it. It's just I want closure.
Of course.
I don't care who did it. God will make them pay.
Mm.
No judge, jury, or anybody on this earth can do what God can.
After hearing Janna spoke to Joseph, he maintained his innocence. How did that make you feel? I know you said that you felt like you lost your aunt all over again.
Right. Well, I felt like he was innocent too.
Mm.
Like I said, I had a conversation when I was in my later 20s with my uncle, and he busted down crying. He said he didn't know. So as far as him doing it, I really don't think so. As far as somebody doing it to try to get at him, very likely. Because she was a very sweet person, had no enemies that I would have known of.
Mm. What do you think our listeners and our viewers should know about Debbie?
And she was a 20-year-old girl and had a full life ahead of her. And it was ended very gruesome, very traumatic.
Mm.
And it changed more people's lives than they know. Because you have these two people shooting each other.
Mm.
You have other people that's just living in misery because they don't know.
Yeah.
And then you got people that's just don't care.
A really traumatic domino effect.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Thomas.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for speaking with us and being here and keeping your aunt alive no matter what, and sharing how wonderful she was.
She's in my heart.
Of course. And even if you don't necessarily know if she will get it, she deserves justice.
Yes.
And maybe, just maybe, this will help.
Like I said, even, I mean, I'm not asking for no miracles. I'm just asking for a little bit of information.
Some answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we can't bring her back. That's never happening.
Thank you so much.
And I feel like whoever probably had anything in it to do with it is probably not alive today, or if they are, they're just so old it really wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
But I would like to have answers and closure myself.
Of course. And you deserve it. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Janna, as well, for being here, and it was wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you know anything about Debbie's case, there will be a number on the screen or a number in the description of the podcast where you can call and give any anonymous tips.